Hi, everybody. I wanted to get on and say hi, and I had a I had a calling to come on and talk to you guys because I was in the middle of some reading right now, and I had a question posed to me this weekend that really made me think, and wanted to get on and clarify for everybody this question because I myself have dealt with a toxic overload situation that was affecting my health, and it's something that affects us all, whether we realize it or not. I've had years and years and years of research to try to pull myself out of the hole that I was in physically. And I've learned a lot through that process. And someone asked me a question this weekend about, like, isn't there arsenic in rice? Um, and and that comes, some of the stuff come naturally from in the earth too. It's not necessarily always, synthetic chemicals that we have created in our industrialized world. And so I was explaining that, yeah, that is true. They have found arsenic in rice. And that it's due to, there's many reasons why people can have um, a toxic overload situation in their body. We used to think it was only dose dependent, but we have learned so much more since back then. And so we've changed and altered our point of views on it. It is true that it's dose dependent. That is partly true, but there's more to the story than that. And I was just reading right now, actually. Let me tell you that in 2012, this is really interesting. In 2012, the United Nations Environmental Program and the World Health Organization put out a paper, and that paper's name is "The State of the Science of Endocrine Disrupting Chemicals," because we have a lot of those in our industrialized world. We've created so many chemicals. There's like chemicals, being thrown on our plants, like Roundup, and there's bisphenol A, which I'm sure you've heard a lot about, coating our cans and inside the water bottles, and inside jar can lids and on cash register receipts that you handle every day. And there's just stuff being thrown at us left and right in the air, the water, the food, you name it, on our skin even. So we're constantly taking in these toxins, and they're synthetic a lot of the times, and then there's others too. And so what the study said is that basically endocrine related disorders are on the rise, right? And why is it endocrine? Because it's affecting our hormones. And so this is just one aspect of toxic overload, but yes, it can affect your hormones. And they said the speed that which increases the disease incident have occurred in recent decades rules out genetic factors as the sole answer. So what they're trying to say is that we are, no matter how we are processing these toxins, considering our genes, which is one factor for our susceptibility to disease, but it's happening at a rate that's so much faster than that it's actually affecting everybody's health, whether you realize it or not. And so, we have so many things coming at us all the time. And it's not just about the dose, although that does matter. It's also your disease risk for toxic burden affecting you physically, because there's a tipping point, right? Your body can only handle so much. And so why do some people get to that tipping point when others don't necessarily get to that level of dysfunction, right? So, like, for example, if you're living in in an area that's very toxic, and this would explain why, I don't know, your sister is having like a significant dysfunction in her health, and and you're doing fine. or that, your son is having some kind of symptoms that nobody can pinpoint, but your daughter is totally okay. So there's so many reasons, right? It's not just about dose, because if it was just about dose, then your son and daughter would be having the same reactions, and so on and so forth. So it's about the lifetime exposure, because it accumulates, as well as the potency of whatever chemical that you're being exposed to. Like, how potent is it? How little bit do you need? How much do you need before you get into a disease state situation? And each one is a little different in terms of their potency. For example, lead, way back when, they used to think it was okay, and a certain amount was okay. And there was a scientist that was working at the CDC that at some point, I think in the 1970s or so, he realized that there's no level of lead that's okay for us. And they really tried to bury him until now they finally accepted that there's no amount of lead that's okay for us. But they used to tell us that there was a certain amount that was okay, because they didn't know any better. And until they accepted it, sure, it was ingrained in our society, and there was, our society was set up in a certain way, and so it took some work, and they really did. There's lawsuits and stuff for that scientist to try to basically shut him up about lead. Well, now we're all on the same page, but it was definitely a process to get there, right? And so not always are we going to be told outright that whatever we're being exposed to could be disruptive to our health, could lead to dysfunction. And so, and maybe they just don't know, right? And a lot of times, there'll be a new chemical, and it'll take 10, 20 years before we realize that there could be a problem here. And so, so we want to be diligent about what it is that we're allowing into our body via food, via water, on our skin, and so on, because we have to think about, like, what are we bringing into our system that's going to cause disruption or is going to enhance our health, right? And I couldn't possibly go into like all of the things for that, but like I probably will in the next few months hop on every so often to share a little bit here and there. But there's, so it's basically about decreasing the amount we take in, as well as enhancing our body processes called biotransformation to release those toxins, because we do have a process for that in our body. It's just that we are getting overloaded. And there are some people that actually have genetic susceptibility to not process toxins out there of their body, as well as others. And that's why some people might not be okay while others are in one area, for example. So it's something to think about, right? There's ways to figure that out. There are tests to figure that out. There are cleanses that can be done to help you process things out of your system, so you keep what's called the total body toxic burden. You keep that down in your body, because the toxins that are in there, they're affecting your whole body. They're affecting your hormones. They're causing inflammation that can lead to diabetes. They're causing weight gain. They're causing so many issues that you may not even realize are happening because of that toxin load that you're carrying. So so I just wanted to get on, because I think, I've been touched by this myself personally, and I've had to figure all this out on my own. And I feel like it's really important that I share it with everyone. And so you'll be hearing from me for a little, you'll be hearing from me here and there to share tips and tricks on how to do that, so that we can together stay as healthy as we are supposed to be, and minimize any chance of, getting into a place where our body is in dysfunction, because if we don't have to be there, why should we, right? So I want to wish you well, and we'll talk soon. Bye.